had a house built out here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Graduated from high school in Waco.
In Waco?
His parents moved here.
Yeah.
And have lived here ever since.
I see.
So that was the main reason for us moving back here, was to look after them.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I see.
And,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
No, you're fine.
but we came here for that reason. Plus, we had a son here and his family.
Right.
So,
You want to put this right if you don't mind, and that way I can just listen to you.
so that's why we came back here.
Yeah.
After I retired.
Yeah. Well, tell me about you. I said you grew up in Waco, right? Is that?
Graduated from high school in Waco. I actually lived on a farm till I was 6, and then during World War II, I went to San Antonio because my dad had been wounded in the Pacific, and that's where they sent him to mend up. So left myself and my sister left the farm where we were living with our grandparents, and went to San Antonio, and we left there in about 47 and moved to Waco.
I see.
And I went through high school in Waco.
So your dad served in the Pacific. Was he in the Navy?
He was in the Army.
In the Army.
Yeah, he was wounded on a little place called Munda. And it's a funny thing. There was a series on TV for quite some time called Baba Black Sheep.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that strip there, that's Munda.
Right. Okay.
And whenever they would show, initially when the program would come on, they would show the actual picture of that airfield with planes taking off and on. And that was they took that strip over from the Japanese, and that's where he was wounded there.
I see.
And
but
so
he survived his wounds? Or?
Oh, yeah. He was, he did fine.
Yeah.
He lost some use of some of his fingers, but because he was laced right up the side here. But no, he did fine.
So you went to school in Waco, and then sort of bring me to your service and
after high school, I went to actually while I was in high school, I joined the it was actually the headquarters company of the 143rd Infantry Regiment, 36th Infantry Division, Texas National Guard.
That's when you were in high school?
That's when I was in high school. And so that's where I really started. Of course, I was a private during that period of time, and went off to school and did get commissioned when I left school, West Texas State out in Canyon, and went to the service. I was commissioned an infantry officer. Went to Fort Benning, Georgia, for the basic course. Of course, I had already had the time in the National Guard and go into Fort Hood for summer camp, and so I had an idea of what was going on and what to expect. In fact, I probably learned more in the National Guard than I should have. Went to Fort Benning for IOBC, Infantry Officer Basic. Went through airborne school there and got my parachute rating. Then I went to flight school. Now,
what year would this have been?
61.
61, okay.
And I had always wanted to fly, even as a youngster on the farm out in West Texas. The Army Air Corps had leased some land from a neighboring farmer, and during that period of the early 40s, I was very impressed by having the planes land out there, and I would try to go there, and the guys would let me sit in the cockpit and play around with the airplane while they took a break. So I was really interested in aviation. Then going to San Antonio, that was all aviation. Every time you looked in the sky, you saw an airplane. So I'd always wanted to fly. And when I went to West Texas State, my senior year, they started a aviation program, and there were 4 of us who wanted to fly, and they had funding for 4 students to enter the aviation program, which meant we just went and got our fixed wing rating at a civilian flight school in Amarillo, Texas. So when I went to Fort Benning and finished the school there in the airborne school, I had orders straight to flight school at Mineral Wells, Texas. That's the primary helicopter training center then in 1961. So that's the reason I went through school, went through jump school, and then I went to flight school. And after flight school, I had orders for the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that was my first aviation tour of duty as a lieutenant. And it was really interesting in the fact that when I went there, our government had proposed or wanted to station certain soldiers in Florida because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And so the first day that I rolled into Fayetteville or Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I reported into my unit, my commander, actually he was in an office on the 2nd floor, he looked out the window and he says, "You see those helicopters?" And there were a line of them there. He said, "Are you rated in the H-13? I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Well, that doesn't make any difference. The crew chief will show you how to start it and stop it. And you're going to fly one of those from here to Florida, and we're going to station out of Florida for a proposed assisting the Cubans." He said, by the time he cranks it up, and he'll fly with you, and you'll each have your duffel bags with your deployment bags. By the time you get to Florida, you'll know how to fly that helicopter just fine. And so that was my initiation. And really, he said, and I had a wife and kids in the car, and he says, "Lieutenant Darley will take you down to Central Issue, and we'll issue you your strike clothing and your field gear, etc., and you'll be going to Florida." And that was my entrance to my first days in the 82nd Airborne Division.
Yeah. Wow. So you were gonna hit the ground running.
Yes, and I had no idea what to expect, where to go, didn't have a place to live. But as time went on, that didn't materialize because our government, I think, decided to go a different direction there. But that was my initial welcome to the 82nd Airborne Division.
So you were going to be a chopper pilot.
Yeah. And from the 82nd Airborne Division, I received orders to Korea. So I went to Korea in 1964, December of 1964, on a troop ship. Oh, yes. Well, I did have some interesting things occur while I was in the 82nd Airborne Division.
Yeah.
I was service platoon commander there, which is aircraft maintenance. And there was a ex-military person named Air Force named James Meredith, who was going to school or had entered school at Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah, sure.
And one day I was told I was going to Oxford, Mississippi, to be part of the what they call the USAFOX Command, United States Armed Forces Oxford, where the Army had set up a tent city outside the out of Oxford, Mississippi. But we did have rights to fly in and out of the Oxford, Mississippi airport. And I was sent there as the aviation officer, and we had a conglomeration of aircraft from different Army units. U-6 Beavers, helicopters, H-34s and H-19s, Sikorsky products, and we had a liaison plane to use. But I was sent there to as the commander of the little aviation detachment there at Oxford, and that was a real interesting experience. We couldn't go into town to buy anything. No one would sell us anything. You couldn't go to a restaurant. You couldn't do anything. So we just kind of lived out on a farmer's field, so to speak, in tents, protecting the federal marshals who were there to protect James Meredith as he went to school. And it was extremely interesting because you were classified as the enemy. And that was a real experience and an eye opener for me.
Oh yeah. So this would have been when, 1960?
That would have been 63 time frame.
Right.
But when I left Fort Bragg for Korea, I was sent on orders to Oakland, California, actually, to be a commander of troops on a troop ship that left Oakland for Korea. Actually went into Incheon, but it took 21 days on the Pacific to get there. And I knew after about 3 days out that I had made the right decision to join the Army and not the Navy, because it was water everywhere, but never a drop to drink, and that was the longest 21 days of my life. Plus, we were in a 3-day storm out in the middle of the Pacific, and I just knew that old troop ship from World War II was going to break in half, coming in and out of the swells and the waves during the storm.
Right.
But we went into Incheon and offloaded the troop ship. I had there were 800 soldiers, 400 were mine. I had another lieutenant that had the other 400, and went on into Korea. I served as a maintenance platoon commander and flew helicopters and bird dogs. I was also fixed wing rated, and so I flew the bird dog airplane, the L-19, and a helicopter called H-23, which was a Hiller aircraft of California, Hiller aircraft. And after a few months there as the service platoon commander, I was selected to be the aide-de-camp to the commanding general of the 7th Infantry Division, which was a captain's billet. And I had been promoted to captain while in Korea. So I spent the remainder of my 13 months there as the senior aide-de-camp to Major General Chester Johnson. And I found him to be a very interesting person. He was actually a survivor of the Bataan Death March during World War II. So extremely smart individual, very personable, and we enjoyed a good relationship during that rest of my tour in Korea. And after Korea, came back to the States, 13 months in Korea, and I came back to be a flight instructor at the Army Aviation Center, which was in Fort Rucker, Alabama then. And so I was an instructor for about a year, and I got orders to Vietnam. And I was rated in a new helicopter then. I was one of 3 that were selected to be standardization instructor pilots in something called the OH-6 Cayuse, which was an observation helicopter. And with the intent to go to Vietnam actually depart from Oakland, California, from California, Stockton, California, Sharp Army Depot, and take the aircraft with the civilian electronics command, the AFCOM people, and we had all the civilian representatives go over in a push package, and we picked up 2 of the aircraft from the facility where they were built, loaded them on a special mission aircraft, and took them to Vietnam. Just the 2 aircraft and the people to support those aircraft, the civilians. And our purpose was to introduce the helicopter, the 1st Cav Division, which had just recently arrived in Vietnam, because they were the unit that was going to receive the aircraft first. In other words, they ship over enough aircraft to actually replace the ones that the 1st Cav had been using from the time, 1965, when they went to Vietnam. And that was called the New Equipment Training Team, a NET team. And my job was to teach the pilots of the 1st and 9th Air Cav of the 1st Cav Division how to fly the airplane, how to use the weapon system. I got cotton in my mouth. I guess everybody does when they try to talk for
Talk a lot.
a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
take your time. Take your time. Was this 1st Cav Division, would it have been the division that was, I remember in We Were Soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
would it have been that division or the previous one that dealt with the French?
No, it was the one you're thinking about.
Okay.
We Were Soldiers Once and Young.
The
Yeah.
Harold Moore?
Harold Moore, yeah.
Right, okay.
That's the bunch.
Gotcha.
And the 1st of the 9th Cav was one of many units, obviously, to make up the division. And when I got there, they were up in what was called the Bon Sang Plain, and they had established different field sites. 2 bits English, LZ 2 bits, LZ English, etc. And that's where the Cav outfit operated out of, away from An K, which was the division base, An K, Vietnam. And that went for a very short period of time. And then I was assigned, I happened to have a helicopter instrument rating to fly IMC, and there weren't too many people at that time. It was a rarity to have an instrument rating in a helicopter, and it was even more so to have a current rating. But I did, and that I had actually gotten from the 18th Airborne Corps in Fort Bragg before I left the 82nd. And so I was going to stay with the 1st of the 9th Cav, and the next thing I knew, they sent me to Saigon to become the helicopter pilot for General Westmoreland. And so I flew him in the 3rd and the 4th Corps area.
Really?
And then he had someone else. He usually went by airplane transport up to the 3rd Corps and the 2nd Corps and the 1st Corps. But anything in the 3rd Corps and the 4th Corps, I was his helicopter pilot. And that was a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week job. It was fine for a little while, but then it became a real chore.
Yeah.
And after 6 months, I was able to join the I was General Abrams. So when General Westmoreland left, General Abrams came in. I flew him for a short period of time before I had about all I could take of it.
Yeah.
And So I joined the guns, armed helicopters of the Razorbacks that flew out of Hotel 3, which is Tan Son Nhut, Saigon. And I flew guns, attack helicopters for the rest of that tour for 6 months, the last 6 months in Vietnam. Then I went back to the States for 12 months to the Infantry Advanced Officers Course. And after the Infantry Advanced Officers Course, I was sent back to Vietnam. So it's 13 months in Korea, 12 months in the States, 12 months in Vietnam, 12 months in the States, back to Vietnam for another 12 months. So it's getting rather old by then.
Yeah.
I'd had about all the excitement I really wanted. But I went back and I served as the commander of the 162nd Assault Helicopter Company, which was in the 4th Corps, which was really the highlight. To be in command of troops in combat, there's nothing equal to it. In other words, you've reached, to me, in my mind, I had reached the there just wasn't a better job to have. And as the commander, went down to Can Tho, Vietnam, which was in the 4th Corps zone, and we supported primarily the ARVN Army. We didn't support the U.S. Forces because primarily the only forces in the 4th Corps zone were ARVNs, and that was interesting in itself, supporting the Vietnamese army in their combat assaults and their air operations.
Yeah.
And again, that was where I had the ability as commander to do just about anything I wanted to do, as far as fly command and control, fly slicks being the aircraft you use to take the troops in to the combat areas,
Right.
and to pick them back up and take them out. Or I had, and I had my own gun outfit. So I could fly command and control, I could fly slicks, and I could fly guns, any as the commander,
Right.
which I was expected to do.
Right.
And so that was, I guess, the highlight of those years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the first tour to overlook that. On the first tour as a gun pilot, I was involved in the Tet of 1968,
68.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Which is
and that was
40 years ago.
really interesting, because now I was located at the time. I was assigned to the guns out of Tan Son Nhut, the attack helicopters, the Razorbacks. But I was on duty temporarily to check some people out, some pilots, teach them how to fly the OH-6, which was then they had opened a little school at Vung Tau, Vietnam. So when I was there, we noticed every evening we had a theater, a movie projector and a screen outside. And we had a little rock wall around where we stayed. And at night when we see movies, the kids would all come out and to watch the movies, the Vietnamese children. And the night before the Tet Offensive, there were no children.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew something was going to happen. So we spent that night up on top of our building. We took machine guns up there and sandbags, and we spent the night waiting for an attack, which didn't happen because they didn't attack Vung Tau. They attacked Long Ben, Ben Hoa. They attacked everywhere, many of the other big sites, but they didn't bother. I got up in the morning from that, took off and flew to Saigon to join my unit. And that's where I saw billowing smoke coming from Long Ben and Ben Hoa area coming out of Saigon, because that's where they had attacked those particular areas. And so I served with the Razorbacks during Tet of '68, right there in Saigon, and it was quite active.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about some of your more memorable missions. As far as obviously you were shot at because you're a member of the club.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what were?
Well, I lost. Let's see. I believe I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that I can remember.
You were shot at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time, I had my gunship. I was Razorback 3-3, so I had a fire team, other aircraft with me. There were normally 2 of us working together, or in some cases we'd go what we call heavy with 3 attack helicopters. And we were working an area that we call the pineapple fields, which were west of Saigon and right around the Parrot's Beak of Vietnam. And that area was used quite a bit by the VC and the North Vietnamese Army to bring supplies and material and people into the country. They'd come down what was called the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Right.
And they'd come down, and this is Parrot's Beak is one of those areas where they would infiltrate down. More so, they would go down the Fourth Corps and come in on the waterways, the rivers and the canals and all, to bring their equipment, supplies, ammunition, all this stuff. That one day I was working the pineapple area, and an Air Force FAC, Forward Air Controller, saw us from where he was orbiting another. In Vietnam, we use the term ball game. Ball game was a combat assault. In other words, you actually had a mission, you had troops, you put them in, and they meet contact, and then you go pick them up.
Don't have fun. Thanks.
So that one day, the FAC saw us, and he broadcast on the emergency frequency. He said helicopters working to my west. We knew where he was. We could tell where he was. He told us where he was, and that they had they needed help bad. They were U.S. forces, not Arvins in this case. I think they come out of the 198th Infantry Brigade, as I remember. So we stopped what we were doing and went over and more or less came under his control to get us to where the ball game was happening. And it didn't take any, really, we didn't need help because there were 5 helicopters burning in different spots around that LZ. And they were bringing the troops in for contact with the enemy, and they actually went into an LZ that was supposedly cold. Cold is a term when you're not expecting to draw fire, but it was hot, and they let the entire group of helicopters fly in, drop off the troops, and at the same time attack them from dikes on both sides, front and back of the LZ area. So here were the troops getting plastered, and the helicopters were getting shot down that had gone in there, and some of them were burning. And so we could see the smoke. We knew exactly where the action was. And as I was just nearing the site, I was monitoring the radio and the talk, and there was another aircraft, a Slick, bringing ammunition into them because they were in dire need of resupply. But he was by himself, and the fact was guiding him in, but he was trying to get us there in time to accompany him in to offer support for him as he tried to get into where our American troops were to get them resupplied with ammunition. And I was hollering at him. He was a call sign Top Tiger. Every unit had a call sign, like ours was Razorbacks. He was Top Tiger. Well, as he was going in, he got right in the middle of the DZ, and they either hit him with a rocket, RPG, or command detonated a shell under him because he just went up, rolled over and went upside down, but didn't burn. In other words, it was upside down, the aircraft, and I couldn't see anybody getting out of it. So we knew there had to be at least 4 people in there. I wanted to accompany him in, but he wouldn't. He went on in by himself, which was not good. But I didn't see anyone coming out, and I knew that Huey, the helicopter, was going to catch fire just any time. So we decided to go in and try to get him out. Well, that didn't work out too well because as soon as we went in, we were trying to see if anybody was in the aircraft or pinned under the aircraft, and we were just going to pick them up and take them out of there. And we had 48 rockets on board. We had 2 pods of 24 and plus 2 door gunners. And when we went in, the next thing I knew, it would be, as you might imagine, being inside of a popcorn popper because our aircraft was getting shot to pieces. And they set it on fire. My right rocket pod with 24 rockets was on fire, burning. And then a few seconds later, as I turned and faced the enemy in this case, there were an entire force standing up, looking right at us, and we were about from here to my back fence, and the whole pith helmets and the whole bit stood up, and they were just lacing me. And they got my gunner behind me. They got him through the neck, and then the pod was on fire. And then I noticed the oil pressure went to 0, which told me they had gotten the oil reservoir because I no longer had oil pressure for the engine. And make the story, it ended where we flew out of there with 0 oil pressure. I fully expected the engine to seize just any minute because we were covered with the oil. When you're inside of a helicopter and you're at a hover or down low, there's a great amount of wind that rushes in and through. Of course, we had no doors on the aircraft. We took the doors off. So we had the oil and all flying around in there, and then we had the blood and all flying in, getting all over the place and all over us. But we did. We got out. We blew the rockets off in order to get out. And we got about what we call clicks. 2 clicks away before we went in. And we did get we got our man off and got him into my other ship, my wing ship. Got my gun off. Yeah, got him into the other helicopter, and they took off to take him to the hospital. And it's interesting because a general officer, a 1-star general, who was the 198th Infantry Brigade commander, he was watching all this because he was up high flying around watching all this. And he, as soon as I got out of the aircraft, we got the other fellow over into my wing ship for him to take him to Cu Chi in this place, in this particular incident. He came in to check on us. He landed in his aide the camp, and he then they took off and went back over the area, and then he got shot, plus his aide. Both got hit just moments after that. They got a little too low and a little too close. So that was one time, and there are others, but that's one where I actually could see the white of their eyes,
Right.
and you could pick them out, and they could pick you out, and you were just sitting there looking at them. Except the difference being is they were shooting at me,
Right.
and I couldn't shoot at them.
Right.
Which, in hindsight, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, you just react. You don't think much. You react to whatever situation comes up. That's one instance. I went into a canal once. Had another guy flying an aircraft and flew into a thunderstorm, and he got into it. It was a squall line. It was raining. It was night. I caught a ride with him from Saigon going down to Sac Trang, which was down in the south part of Vietnam. And it was at night, but it was about 9, 10 at night. And the pilot flew into the thunderstorm, turned around and got out of it, which is what you're always trained to do. You never try to penetrate, at least in a helicopter, a thunderstorm. And he turned around and got out of it, and I thought, good for him. He's doing just exactly what they teach you to do when you learn to fly helicopters. Never fly in a thunderstorm. Well, he went a little bit, and I guess he didn't. He had He had 9 of us in the back of the helicopter in the Huey, all catching a ride, and he turned and went right back into it again. And when he did, there was a fellow sitting next to me who wore wings. He was a major, and when he went back into that thunderstorm and the lightning and the whole that was going on, we both looked at each other and we both knew what the problem was. What could happen to us. And he asked me, we had to shout and holler at each other in order to hear. He asked me if, he told me, he said, I'm a grounded fixed wing aviator. I can't fly a helicopter. Can you? I said, yeah, I can fly one. And my mind, I could sit and look at the artificial horizon and tell what we were doing, as well as the airspeed indicator. And I had made up my mind, if that airspeed indicator ever hit 0, I was going to take over the aircraft. Now I'm sitting in the back. But it finally did 0, and I could tell the pilots had vertigo. They didn't know if they were going up, down, sideways, front, back, or anything. One of them was froze to a seat and wouldn't move, and the other one was just wiping the cockpit out with a cyclic stick. And when it hit 0, that means we're going to fall. And we started sliding backwards. I could tell that on our side. And you couldn't see outside. Heavy, heavy rain and lightning. And I grabbed the helmet off of the crew chief who was sitting behind me, and then I just made my way up between the 2 seats of the pilot and the co-pilot, and I tried to give him the old MOI, the method of instruction to a pilot when you're teaching them how to fly. I tried to tell him what to do, and he wouldn't do it. He just kept, and we were still falling. and we left from about 2,000 feet. I ripped my pants open when I went across the center console. I was laying more or less on my stomach on the center console. And when he failed to do what he had to do, which was pull incline power, push forward, and stabilize the rotor system, I hit him just as hard as I could hit him right in the face. And when I did that, he just took his hands off like that. And I pulled in 35 pounds of torque, lowered the nose over. I'm laying down, just flying on instruments now, because I fully expected to smack the ground just any minute. But at about 200 feet, we leveled off and it started flying again. I flew for a while until I got to a river that I knew the river. And
you pushed him out of the seat by then?
No.
You're still on your stomach?
I'm still on my stomach, just flying instruments. And when we got out of the storm and hit that river, I knew if we turned left, we could go up to a place called Kento, Kento, T-H-O. And I knew the units that were there, the American units that were there. So turned and started up the river, pretty low. The moon was out now. We were in front of the storm, and we got into Kanto. I called this a fellow I knew there. In fact, it was the commander of the unit that I was going to take command of. And we landed, and everybody got off. You're on your own then. You go find a place to stay. And both pilots were just sitting in the aircraft, and I had a talk with them, and that was the end of that night. But everybody found a place you're on your own. I called, and the guy said, come on over, you can rack out in one of the tents, because they were in a tent city as well. And
you saved a few lives on that.
Well,
no getting around that.
Who knows? Who knows? But that was, to me, in my mind, just about as exciting as I ever want. Yeah, probably took a few years off of me in just a few minutes, but it was. And again, that can happen to anybody. I've been in 2 other helicopters when the pilots were unable to fly. In one of them, the guy asked me to take over. He says, I've got vertigo. Half of my buttocks is asleep, and I don't know which way I'm going. So I took over. In one other case, a pilot was flying, and we were shooting an instrument approach into Raleigh-Durham Airport in the soup, and I knew something had to be wrong, because he didn't report locator outer marker, and we were off a little bit. And I asked him, I said, "Are you all right?" He says, "Ken, I don't know what I'm doing." So I took over there and finished the approach. So it's very easy in a helicopter to have vertigo when you're IMC.
Right.
You've got to rely 100% on those instruments, and fly the instruments, and don't look outside. I mean, if part of your body's asleep, then you're definitely not agreeing. Your body is telling you one thing, and the instruments are telling you something else.
Right. You
could be in a right turn, and you may think you're in a left turn. I mean, it really will do a job on your mind. Sure. It takes a lot of practice to fight. I mean, to know, to only believe in your instruments and not on what you think is happening. Wow. And it's hard to separate the two. Right. Yeah. So that's what, that was one. I've had,
And one of your in-laws started a flight school at Fort Walters.
oh yeah, that's right. I was in flight school. That's right. And it was cold. It was December of 61. And what we pilots, student pilots, would do if they didn't have enough if maintenance was under contract with Southern Airways. And Southern Airways used to be a company that flew routes primarily in the south part of the United States, commercial flying airline. Well, they also had contract with Uncle Sam to provide the maintenance support for all the helicopters at the primary helicopter school at Mineral Wells, Temple Walters, Texas. Well, that morning, myself and another fella, we didn't get a tail number. By that means they come in and put tail numbers on the board, and then you, as it came your time, that tail number was your aircraft. You'd go out, pre-flight the airplane, and take off and go do whatever you were supposed to do. Well, that day, I had already soloed, so it's I had to fly by myself. That particular day, the numbers were coming in, and me and one other fella didn't get a number. So we knew we had to wait there, and when maintenance got them up, they'd come give us a number. And they did. And I got my number, wrote it down, went out to the flight line, found the aircraft, and it was a beautiful helicopter. It looked like it was brand new. So that didn't look right. In other words, I'd flown a few, and they never looked quite as nice as this one. I checked the book, everything looked good. And I got in, cranked it up, hovered out to one of the takeoff pads. And again, everything was just fine. And I turned, I called for takeoff. They had a little operations tower type deal. And they gave me clearance to take off from pad so-and-so, and I took off. And just as I started climbing, that's a reciprocating engine. It didn't have, it's H-23. It didn't have a turbine. But I had the climb power, manifold pressure, and I had the right attitude for takeoff, and everything was looking great. And just about 200 feet, or just after I took off, the engine exploded. Through two rod ends. Rod end bearings actually went on two of the cylinders. Pistons went right out of the aircraft. I mean, it was an explosion. Well, everything went to zero, and I bottomed the pitch as we're taught. You slam the collective pitch down so you can maintain the blades turning, and you go in what's called auto rotation. The problem is when you're low, now from 15 feet down, you're all right if the engine quits because you've got rotor RPM built. And that's good up to about 200 feet. And if you have an engine failure on takeoff, you have no airspeed, you got all your power pulled in, the engine's working at its max, and you're up to about 200 feet or more. If you have an engine failure in there, you're gone. I mean, you can't recover from it. And that's what happened to me. I bottomed the pitch. I hollered Mayday, I think 2 or 3 times on the way down, as fast as I could holler it. And I had my attitude set up just the way I wanted it. And just pulled my nose up a bit to slow the airspeed down. And I was starting to pull the pitch in to land. And suddenly everything went from brown and blue sky, brown earth. Suddenly everything was brown. And what happened, they have a pogo stick on the back of the helicopter that is there to keep from hitting the tail rotor on something on the ground. It'd hit the stick first before the tail rotor would hit the ground if you were in a flare. That, they say, the accident board determined that I went over some high tension wires, power line. And as I went over the top, they say the pogo stick hit one of the wires and it threw me nose down. And of course, I went into the ground just straight down. And the helicopter bounced a couple of times, went over on its side, and beat itself to death on the ground. And I released myself. I was in the Tennessee, I believe. I released myself. I was hanging in there sideways, and the right door was on the ground, and I'm looking out the left door, and the console is here. I released myself and fell down to the right door. Now I'm looking up, my feet over the console, looking up to the blue sky out of the left door, and the aircraft is part of the plexiglass in the front had broken out. And I started to gather my stuff up and get my head together. And I saw my wallet. I grabbed my wallet, and I was going to get my helmet, and go out the hole that was in the plexiglass windscreen there. And I couldn't move. I could move my arms, but I was dead from the waist down. I couldn't move my legs, nothing. And I could hear crackling. Of course, I had a full load of fuel when I took off. And then the smoke started coming in. So it was burning. And I said, that tank's going to explode. But try as I could not get out. And another man heard me when I was hollering Mayday and saw me go in. He was a flight instructor with his student. And he flew over, landed, and came over and crawled in the front, grabbed me by the shoulders and pulled me out of that hole. And we got out, and then he stuck his head under my arm and tried to carry me, but he was a small guy himself. And we got out about 10 yards or so, and we both fell down. Of course, he was dragging me. I was dead weight. And I was paralyzed from the waist down. And the aircraft did explode. It did burn. Every bit of it burned up. So he just got me out of there just in time. He saved my life, is what he did. And he had. Oh, he broke my back and broke my leg and broke some teeth. But the compression fractures of the lumbar vertebrae in the lower part of my back were crushed. Because when it hit, all my body weight went right down on the seat bulkhead, which is and your back gets compressed,
Right.
And so that laid me up for a while.
You survived the flying over 30 years.
Yeah. I went on to
So how long were you laid up after that? I mean, you
about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Now
and you got your feeling back pretty quick.
yeah. It was right. And my left leg was in a cast.
Right.
But all I wanted to do was fly.
Yeah.
And and so I recovered amazingly fast.
Yeah.
But I was still hurting.
Yeah.
But I didn't want a chance of not flying, not finishing flight school.
Right.
So
this happened in Mineral Wells, right?
In Mineral Wells, yeah. And
well, I see what Sandra means by 9 lives. You've had a few.
a funny thing happened. When did we see Jim Griffin? One of my high school buddies from Waco, I hadn't seen him since 1957.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Waco one time, and I arranged to meet him and his wife at one of the cafes, restaurants. Yeah. and I had not seen him since high school. And we met, and as we were talking to him, the flight instructor that pulled me out of that helicopter and him had worked together like 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, and he knew all about it. See, from the guy that actually pulled me out of there. Yeah, yeah. Where's that picture? Ed Blondale, and he passed away. I feel real bad about that. Oh, I can show you.
Well, Tom, another little interesting tidbit, not necessarily for the program, but just of interest.
What?
You interviewed Terry Rosser
Uh-huh.
and Ken.
Oh well, when I went on and ended up in I went to the Armed Forces Staff College in Norfolk, Virginia. Actually, from Vietnam, I'm getting ahead of myself. From Vietnam, when I left there on that third tour, I mean, one tour in Korea, 12 months, 12 months, 12 months, 12 months.
Right.
I figured the only way I could keep from going back to Vietnam was the ITT, Inter-Theater Transfer, to Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So I put in my paperwork when I left Vietnam to go to Germany. So when I went to Germany, I got command of another of the aviation unit, the 295th, which was heavy helicopter, sky cranes.
Yeah.
Heavy helicopter, the only heavy helicopter company we had then over there, and the only sky crane company. We lift 10 tons. We had two Pratt & Whitney 4,500 horsepower to the main rotor. So it was a really great helicopter. And I commanded that unit in Germany for 3 years. And then when I went back to the States, on that one, I went to the Staff College. Yeah, I went to Norfolk, to the Armed Forces Staff College. Then I ended up going to Germany, and that tour, that's when I commanded the 295th. No, went back.
Then you went to Fort Bragg.
I went,
From the
Yeah.
college, went to Fort Bragg.
yeah, I went back to Fort Bragg to the 82nd Airborne Division. And I've been jumping, parachuting, all this since
Then
'61.
back to Germany,
And then,
the First Armored Division.
yeah, I went back to Germany again from the Staff College in Norfolk. I went back to Germany to command I was the Inspector General of the First Armored Division, the largest division in the Army, because we had one complete brigade out of the 2nd Armored at Fort Hood attached to us in Germany. Were you ever in?
No.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't know names of it, but so I spent a tour as the Inspector General of a 20,000 plus man Army outfit,
Right.
all over the south part of Germany, actually, the Bavarian area and all that.
Right.
And then we had the 3 training centers at Weilslichen, Grafenwehr, and Hohenfels over on the border between West Germany and one of the.
This was after your final tour of Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
So what year would that have been that you go to Germany?
Well, let's see, I left
76.
76. Yeah.
75.
Right.
Yeah, because I returned in April of 70 from Germany to the Staff College
Right.
in Norfolk. Yeah.
But anyway, from Germany, then you came back to Fort Rucker to be.
Oh, I came back, and here's the coincidence, the number of coincidences. I came out on the command list, and when that happens, you take whatever command they give you. And I was, having always been in airborne, always been commanding or flying different types of helicopters from the biggest to the smallest. I was combat arms. I just said, hey, I'm going to get me a job with some division, as a commander of a squadron or a company or whatever. And I come out on the command, and they give me a Army post command. And it was back at Fort Rucker, Alabama, to command a battalion there. And when I went for the change of command, the commander that I was taking command from was Terry Rosser.
Is that right?
His mother and my mother were in the cafeteria business in Bryan. Went to church together. It even becomes more. My command sergeant major, the highest ranking, he runs battalion, and that was a huge battalion. That was 2,400 folks. This little sergeant major comes in, and I'm meeting him for the first time, and we're talking. He's from Waco. We're talking to his wife, and I graduated from high school together. Now, this is all Terry Rosser,
Right.
his mother, my mother,
Right.
and I turn around, Command Sergeant Major's from Waco.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about weird.
That is.
That was
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, and his wife was high school classmate of mine.
Right.
And one time when you were there at Fort Rucker, you jumped out of an airplane without it.
Yeah. I got in trouble there. See, I was a parachutist. You have your novice, that's your wings.
Yeah.
You have senior parachutist, that's wings with a star above it. Then you have master Army parachutist, is wings with a star with a wreath around it. Well, I was a master Army parachutist. I've been to jump master school, served as a jump master, night parachutes, day parachuting, all this stuff. And you have to get each of those, you meet certain criteria. Number of jumps, number of night jumps, number of Hollywood jumps, number of combat equipped jumps. And so I had, in those different tours, plus my battalion, we had Terry too. In our battalion there, we had I had an artillery outfit, a military police outfit, airborne pathfinder infantry outfit, 98th Army Band, plus 4 other companies, flight instructors, all the different types of people it takes to run a base, motor pool people and all that. And it was, it was something. I forgot what I was going to talk about.
About jumping out.
Oh yeah, jumping out. While we was there, this Pathfinder airborne outfit, infantry, since I had my wings, would jump with them, but I wasn't on jump status, so nobody really knew we were doing that. This is after Terry left. I got a new brigade commander who was also a parachutist. So we would jump together. We'd go out on a Friday when they would jump, and we'd get a parachute and we'd jump out with them. Well, one day we're sitting out there for a jump. He and I are sitting down, and some guy from the Post newspaper came out to take pictures, and there Colonel Allen is. We're laying down, I'm sitting on the ground with our parachutes on and everything, waiting to get on the airplane. And he's taking pictures. We didn't think anything about it. This we don't want to talk about. But next thing we knew, the Fort Rucker newspaper comes out, and there's Colonel Allen and I sitting out there all rigged up with our jump brigade on. Oh my gosh. The post commander general.
But that's not what you're supposed to be talking about.
Oh, yeah. Here's another thing we did.
Yeah.
We wondered, and I don't know who dreamed this up, but I thought it would be a lot of fun. What it would be like to jump out of the back of a helicopter as it's flying low level across the lake. You know,
Jumping
land,
in the
dump the water.
Yeah.
So that's what we had planned, and you know, we went to this airborne pathfinder outfit. We got our little life preserver thing. When you hit the water, you can pop it, and just in case something went wrong. And we got a CH-54 flying crane from an Army Reserve National Guard outfit out of Birmingham, Alabama, to come down. And that has a people pod where you can put 45 people in there. And we would put like 20 parachutists or something. And the back is open. And it's not just like sitting in a bus or something. And what we did was went down and flew over this lake. And then we would go and jump out. And that was it. So the general read the paper.
Yeah.
And he saw us. No, that was the double. We never told him about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then from Fort Rucker, you went to Indiana University.
Yeah, I was in the Professor of Military Science and Tactics, Indiana University. So I had the Army ROTC program at IU.
Right.
Like that's where that play up there.
I see.
They gave it to me when I left.
Yeah.
And Sandy and I, we were content to stay right there. We love Bloomington, Indiana.
Right.
Beautiful place, nicest people in the world. We bought a new house, and we were settling in. I was going to stay there until they threw me out, and then I'd retire. See, huh?
Then you were selected for the war.
Oh yeah. Then while I was there, I came out on the War College list,
Right.
So anyway,
where colonels go.
Royal College of Defense Studies.
Yeah, it's like I was the Army representative to the Royal College of Defense Studies in London. They called me up and asked if I wanted to do that. Otherwise, I would have gone to the Army War College, Carlisle Barracks, Pennsylvania. So I asked Sandy. I got home. I said, "Hey, I got a call from assignment." They said, they said, they offered me this Armed Forces, this Royal College of Defense Studies in England for a year, 12 months, January through December. And I had to accept it. Well, I had to let them know. So I asked Sandy. She said, "Yeah, I can have my bags back tomorrow and we'll go." Well, we went to London, and that was a year program there and we had 30 or 35 countries represented. And our government would send one State Department guy, one Navy/Marine guy, one Air Force guy, and one Army guy. So I was the Army guy. So each year, that's what our government sends over there to the Royal College of Defense Studies.
Wow.
So for the year 84, is when we went to,
The students that other countries would send to the
or generals.
CDS were destined to become the leaders of the military in their countries.
I see.
Yeah,
So it was
Yeah.
quite exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, they considered, in Ken's little carpool, they considered Ken speaking for the President of the United States.
and of course,
Which he's a colonel.
I'm a colonel, and they're asking me questions and stuff, expecting me to talk on behalf of our government, And I found that quite interesting because,
Because the U.S. was the superpower,
Right.
yeah,
Ken was representing the
Yeah.
superpower.
Right.
they asked me questions, and that was interesting.
Right.
But we enjoyed that.
Did you check with President Reagan first before you?
No, I didn't.
They put out a little book.
Yeah, but Sandy loved it there, and we lived near Kingston upon Thames, which is where the Hampton Court Palace is, very close where we could have walked or rode a bike to Hampton Court Palace.
Right.
And from there, he became battle staff commander
Oh yes. And so when my year up was when I finished the the Army, the Royal College of Defense Studies. Like I said, we had about 30 or 35. Can't remember the exact count, a number of people from different countries. All the old British Empire, Pakistan, India, Malaysia, Egypt. Believe it or not, even then, in '84, we had our Egypt Major General from Egypt, and we had what's his name, Turan from Israel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
so yeah, Japan and all these countries, Turkey. It was really an education,
Yeah.
and so when that year was up, uh, yeah, I went to Silk Purse.
Where is that?
That's in RAF Mildenhall, England. Silk Purse is the airborne. I was airborne uh, battle staff commander on the European Airborne Command Post, and we worked. Yeah, we yeah, we always had somebody up. We had one Marine Corps / Navy, one Air Force, Army, and we that's the battle staff commander. So there were 4 of us, and what we would do, we'd disappear for 9 days out every month. But we would fly out. We'd either go to Terrejón, Spain, operate out of there, or out of the lodges in the Azores, Portuguese Azores, the islands out in the Atlantic, and we were on standby. In the event there was a nuclear exchange, our job was to be up in a matter of 2 minutes off of that airbase in the sky to, in fact, release the nuclear weapons from the boomers, from the missiles, and from the submarines, from the bombers. So you had your intercontinental ballistic missiles out of the United States in the silos up in Dakotas and places like that. And then we had the subs that were out there. And then we had the bombers, so we had the triad. And the reason for that, of course, is to keep the Russians. That we didn't want them to, and it worked because we had an outfit out of Hickam in Hawaii that did the same thing. Then we had Looking Glass that was up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week over the U.S. And then we had Silk Purse, which was the outfit I was with, over the Atlantic.
Right.
So you had the Atlantic, continental United States, and the Pacific cover. You always had these guys up, ready to pursue or release the nuclear weapons.
Right.
And of course, once we did that, we had 4 airplanes dedicated to this, and we also had our own boomer. By that I mean the guy can refuel jet fighters if we had to refuel them, or we could take on. I mean, we always had a dual role. Really, we'd go out when we would be working in the combat stations, and I had part of that crew. You had like 14 Air Force electronics people, radio people. Then we had our battle staff, which was made up of, again, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. And I was the commander of our outfit, Charlie Team, when we'd go out for those 9 days.
Yeah. What were you flying in?
EC-135s,
Okay.
electronic birds.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, it was time at that point, years in service. Normally, unless you're selected for a certain job, when you time in service and grade meet, you're retired. So that was 30 years, 34 counting my National Guard time,
Yeah.
but 30 years active as a commission, and we retired. And
So you went to the 96
yeah, I went to the 96th ARCOM, which was um, at headquarters, which was in Salt Lake City. And
They have a 10-state area.
yeah, I was responsible for the reserve units or the Army guy, active Army guy for the Major General of that of those states, the western states.
Right.
You know, North South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, New Mexico. You know, all fell within our under our jurisdiction, so to speak. And that was my last assignment.
Right.
On active. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Hey, there's a bathroom right there. Right in there.
Okay.
I'll go back there.
No, that's fine. Wow, what a career.
Something to drink.
No, I'm positive. Thank you. I already had a couple of two cups of coffee this morning, so no, I'm doing good.
We had a lot of good times, but a lot of the guys that he commanded in Vietnam were 18 years old,
Right.
and they became warrant officers, learned to fly, and he was the commander. They all thought very highly of him. And in the last few years, with the computer, now they stay in touch.
Yeah, through email.
40 years later, they're
Yeah.
in touch and remembering their times together and whatever.
Does he have any? Does he have any pictures of any kind, or?
He doesn't have many pictures like in Vietnam, but we'll show you some of the stuff he's
Okay.
got sitting around there.
Good.
Just a minute.
And
He couldn't, because of his illness, he wasn't able to go to one of the reunions last year. And so his little group got together and had a leather jacket with his Vietnam patch put on it. And
wow.
had one of the people that lives in Houston bring it over to him.
Wow.
How much they missed him.
Oh, that's great.
Very well thought of.
Oh, wow, my goodness.
As a commander.
Just a tremendous career.
People-oriented person, and here he really enjoyed being a docent at the George Bush Library from
Right.
talking more.
Yeah.
He misses that a lot.
Oh, I'll bet.
He really enjoys.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
But Ken,
I can't talk well, and if I get excited, then I can't talk.
he wants to see some of your things. So
Well, what you and I are doing now, almost in the same exact positions, is what we'll be on Friday. The problem is always trying to get as much told as we can in a 30-minute show. But what I will do is I'll take our conversation and I'll go back and type up a bunch of notes, and I'll do a lot of what Sandra's been doing, sort of prompting your mind, and then you can go on, and then we'll move on to something else. I just sort of guide the conversation, and you just sit there and just talk just like you're talking right now.
Well, like I say, chronologically, sometimes I get
Well, I've got
out of sequence.
I've got it.
But sometimes you have a tendency to tell a little long, so
Yeah, I am.
It'll be
I
fun.
do.
Well, no,
I start
there's a lot. There's
when
a lot
I
to
start
tell.
remembering things.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
you keep talking.
he's had a lot of exciting incidences. Well, why don't you
Yes, I want to see.
Army program at Indiana University.
Right.
These are some of my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. I have three.
So how many kids y'all have?
We have 3 children,
3,
10 grandchildren,
2 great
2
grandchildren,
great-grandchildren,
and another one today.
one is going to be born. He's
Amen.
probably just been born.
Another great grandchild.
Yeah,
Oh,
And this is
that's Alex.
our grandson Alex.
Uh-huh.
He's from Missouri, and he just graduated last May from A&M. He was in the band and the corps for 4 years and got
Wow.
his master's.
Got an MBA before he left school too. So
and that's your grandson.
yeah.
Wow.
This is my mother and dad who lived in Bryan, and he was killed last November, or November a year ago.
A year ago.
November. And my mother's in the Crestview rescue home now.
I see.
She had some strokes and can't walk or stand up or any of that.
Oh my.
And because he was taking care of her, see?
Right.
And then when he was killed and got hit by a truck, he was in a pickup truck.
Oh my goodness.
Killed him almost instantly, I guess.
Oh gee.
Ken made this little.
Sandy had this made for me. A German put this together for her. She gave it to me as a Christmas. But this represents 34 years
Right.
from 36th Division, Texas National Guard, my ROTC at West Texas State, commissioning Second Lieutenant Infantry, Airborne School and Infantry School. And see, these don't have the stars on them, see?
Mm-hmm.
And then flight school, no, just what we call novice.
Right.
82nd Airborne. His first lieutenant. It's off there, my rank.
Right. Yeah.
Second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, 2 stars, aide de camp to a commanding, a major general. This is the one that I told you was a battalion death march survivor, the general.
Right.
Chester Johnson. 7th Infantry Division. This was the battalion crest. Back to Fort, the center for Fort Rucker as a flight instructor. Then to Vietnam as a major. Back to advanced course at Fort Benning, Georgia. Now you see I got a star here.
Right.
See? And then armor. I changed branch. You see here I am infantry.
Right.
I was dissatisfied with the way infantry was managing me, so to speak. We had some words.
Yeah.
And and I immediately, when I finished when I was at the infantry advanced course, I went downstairs and got on the phone and branch transferred to armor because I was very dissatisfied. They could have cared less if I was alive or dead. And then back to Vietnam. These were my slicks, the vultures, the troop ships, vulture. And this is a gun outfit with the copperheads. I'll show you big ones of these big ones. That's the copperhead.
162nd Assault Helicopter Company.
Yeah,
Vulture.
that was my yeah. And then I went to Germany, 7th Army.
Right.
This is when I commanded the sky cranes, the heavy helicopters, the big ones. There. Then to the Staff College in Norfolk.
Right.
I was assigned to the cavalry, 17th Cav at 82nd Airborne Division. And you'll notice I've got my star here now.
Right.
See?
Yeah.
And I've got my star. Where's the senior wings, though, Sandy?
Right here? No.
That's master.
I guess we didn't put them on. Oh, is that them right there?
Yeah, here they are. There's the senior wings.
All right.
So all this time goes by, enough time, and you have flight hours, enough instrument, enough whatever. And I've got my senior parachute, and I get my master's parachute while at Fort Bragg here in the 1st 17th Cavalry. And then I become an Inspector General. That's the brass. So you see the different brass.
1st Armored Division.
1st Armored Division, and I'm promoted to Lieutenant Colonel, and I've got my wings now with a reef around them.
Right.
So now I'm a master parachutist and a master aviator. Then I go down here to command at the 1st Brigade, 1st Battalion of the Aviation Brigade at Fort Rucker, Alabama. Then I go off to become the Professor of Military Science, promoted to Colonel. And then I changed my branch again. So I've got infantry. They made it in 1983. They made aviation a branch.
Right.
So you go infantry. This is Inspector General, and then I'll change my branch to armor.
This is Inspector General.
To cavalry. Oh yeah, here's Inspector General of the 1st Armored Division here. That's the brass.
Right.
IG wears. And then here, Fort Rucker.
Aviation.
Indiana. The War College.
Right.
Army War College, which was here in headquarters, United States European Command headquarters.
Right.
Which was in, that was in, my headquarters was in Oh, real nice place in Bavaria. Yes. Well, that's what my boss was. Oh man. Anyway, that's Germany. Then I'm assigned to 6th Army in Presidio of California.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the base of the Golden Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
with duty at the ARCOM in Salt Lake City, and then that's their crest. These are all the crests you wear,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on
Right.
whatever you are.
Yeah.
Now these are some of my
Some
awards:
Mm-hmm.
the Silver Star, Merit, Legion of Merit, 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, uh, two Bronze Stars. This is a joint military joint services combination medal.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Army Meritorious Service Medal, 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have 26 air medals. These are supposed to be silver.
Right.
See, if a bronze would mean 1, silver's 5.
Right.
But I don't have them all. I don't have them all there.
Yeah.
That's 26. 4 ARCOMs, Army Commendation Medals. This is our defense medal, 2 of those. This is the Korean Defense Medal. This is, I had 2 of these. This is the Vietnamese Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is, and that's with star and with, we got 2 of those, one with bronze leaf and one with silver star. And these are the Vietnam service campaign stars. So I have 5 of those,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the Vietnam Service Medal. This Vietnam Service Medal and this Korea are similar.
Yeah.
In other words, same function.
Right.
And
Wow.
when this was made up, I was in the Army branch when this was. Where did I get this thing?
That's beautiful.
Did they get this overseas or over here? Who made that for
You
me?
got that? I don't know.
But I've got all that written. I have all that written back here,
Right.
affixed to it. So when I pass, then the kids or grandkids will know who I am. This is my Armed Forces Staff College.
Right.
Yeah. This was when I commanded the Vultures, the
Uh-huh.
162nd Assault Helicopter Company.
Right.
This was I flew bird dogs in Korea.
Right.
This is up near Camp Casey. Were you in the Army?
No.
Okay, Camp Casey's up close to the DMZ,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a pilot. This is when I commanded the 162nd. These 2 here.
Right.
This is my Jeep.
Yeah.
6 is commander.
Vulture 6.
You know,
Uh-huh.
5 is executive officer. 3
Right.
is operations. 4 is supply. And here's I was talking about, this is when I was in jump school, 1961.
Uh-huh.
Here's your senior parachutist, and this is master parachutist card.
Right.
You get those. This is my some of the guys I served with in the Razorback. See that pig on the door?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And these are the firing rules which we had to follow. Firing rules for armed helicopter engagement.
Yeah.
And this told you remember, when in doubt, hold your fire. Always know the positive location of your friendlies,
Yeah.
etc. You had to go by that.
Where are you in this picture?
That's it.
All right, in the middle. Yeah.
Not someone in the middle.
Yeah. Ah.
But then I've got some things in here. I don't have them all up, of course. But this is. I've got 2 of these. What's this one for, Sandy? First, achievement in flight, and this one's just a Silver Star.
Right.
For gallantry in action. And now I've got a few over here. I got 2 of these.
Goodness.
This is the other Distinguished Flying Cross. This is for heroism. This one, Legion of Merit. This was my ARCOM from Korea.
Yeah.
And these are air medals. I got 26 of these things. I got a whole box full of crap over there. These are Sandy's. These are Sandy's. She worked in Sinclair Fleet in Norfolk.
Yeah.
And she worked in the Army helping. She's had several jobs. Here's another one here.
Right.
For her. That's my little retirement thing Farcom fixed up for me when I retired. And then there's my
Would
West,
you have something that
my West Texas State College,
right?
and then I got my master's at
At
Boston University.
Would you have something that lists all your commendations and your medals and
Yeah.
all that, like your discharge certificate or?
I do, but this is the Armed Forces Staff College. I mean,
Right.
the Royal College of Defense Studies on Grosvenor Square,
Belgrade.
Belgrade Square.
Yeah.
Buckingham Palace.
That's Grosvenor is where the
Yeah.
RFK, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
This is a coin here.
Then go around the
No,
other way to the other room.
no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come this way.
Oh, excuse me.
I had, where is that
One of those guys even.
airplane?
How long have y'all been married?
Well, this is second marriage.
For both of us. And my
We
dad.
were married in '74.
74.
Well, I was in Norfolk.
Did you do a biography? Is that what they are?
All right.
That good.
It's all right there. I don't think it's all
I
going in.
haven't seen
Hey,
it lately.
If
so
I get in the
don't
bind,
know.
could you help me out, Lee?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because so there it lists everything.
Yeah,
right
list
there.
Well,
everything.
if you don't mind walking through the bathroom, you'll
Well,
Yeah, I'll bring this. I'll bring that. I'd like to take this and I'll give it all back to you on Friday. And I'd like to get a couple of those pictures off the wall and scan them.
This is Alex here.
Okay.
Here he is here.
Yeah.
I got boxes back in that bedroom. She's got it shut. I got boxes from the floor to ceiling. We don't have room. Oh, mementos I've got.
Yeah.
Here's
Good.
my Razorbacks.
Right.
Have gun, will travel. This is UH-1 Delta Huey's 125th Razorback Vietnam, and for Razorback 3-3. And
That's
signed Joe
nice.
Klein.
That's the night.
And this is Huey.
Oh, look at that mahogany. Yeah.
Guess what? Are you ready for this?
Made in Vietnam. I'll be
I
darned.
couldn't believe it. Yeah. And this is the command. This is when I commanded the vultures
Right.
of the 162nd. That's what it looks like when you're going into one.
Yeah.
So you go in and staggered trail like that,
Yeah.
and the guys jump out when you're still in the air.
Oh yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
land. You.
No.
That's his
This is my blood shit.
Uh-huh.
Aviators carried that, and you fold it up and keep it. You're not supposed to keep them, but I kept mine. And
Right.
you carry that with you, so in case it's in these languages, in case you go down, this tells them that our government will pay them if they'll take care of me,
Right.
safekeeping,
I see.
and not. But of course they never work. But
Yeah.
these are some of my mementos.
Yeah. There's your
This is
helmet.
the early helmet,
Right.
60s vintage, and it's all come apart. But this airplane thing I had. Here's another one we had. We had two of them, not at the same time, of course.
Uh-huh.
And then I got bugs from everywhere. Here's my sky cranes
Uh-huh.
in Germany. Staff college.
Yeah.
This was in Korea. This was the 7th Infantry Division in Korea.
Wow.
They taking airboat. Here's something the men gave me. One day we were down. This is a Chinese communist Chinese weapon, and it's good. It'll fire, but kick my finger in there.
Yeah. Don't get your. You call that an M1 thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
don't do that.
You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Just leave it for now.
But this is what my troops gave me. It's
Right.
one of my going away gifts. I've got several of them.
Wow.
This is,
Taken from a VC killed by copperheads on March.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was with them that day.
Yeah.
We found an entire city covered. You couldn't see it from the air, but we came across it low level one day, and down close to some mountains called the Sisters, and as we started looking, getting slower and slower, we started picking out these buildings, these all under triple canopy, so to speak. You couldn't see it. We went around, we come back around, the second time around, we started drawing fire. So we knew what we had then. So we knew it anyway.
Right.
Couldn't find out where it was coming from. Came back around, came back in again, bam, bam, started drawing fire again.
Yeah.
And about the third pass, my wing ship spotted them and opened up on them. Now they told me that when the Arvin went in, gave the coordinates what we had there, and when they finally went in, they said they got this from a guy. They made up this story. It wasn't true, I'm sure. That the troops got this from the guy that was shooting at me.
Yeah. This is in Roland Collaborate Black Hawk.
That was the very first rigid rotor helicopter. It's not the Black Hawk that you know.
Right.
They went on, Sikorsky went on, they named a different helicopter, the Black Hawk, but this was a Sikorsky, and this is signed by Serge Sikorsky, and actually looped and rolled a helicopter belonging to them.
Right.
I never done it myself. Here's what the little Loach looks like. This was the Army flying team.
Yeah.
And then, this is all the units that were in the 1st Armored Division.
Right.
See, here's the 2nd Armored Division. We had one complete brigade from the 2nd Armored Division. These all the crest of the units that were in that division that I was Inspector General. Here's Airborne Commission EC-135 and my fire team there. This was given to me by my NCOs, my sergeants, when I commanded that battalion at Fort Rucker. They gave me this as a going away gift, and they purposely, they told me, misspelled the word because I was a big one on spelling. When somebody would send me a letter or something, it was work.
Get a red pen.
I had a red pen. I'd mess it all up.
You'd
so when they left, GREATFUL. See, this here is my Pathfinders.
Yeah.
This is High Flight by John McGee. You've read that one.
Right.
Oh, this is my band, 98th Army Band. We did provided the band for military needs, buglers for funerals, in Alabama, Mississippi, the Panhandle of Florida. This is the EC-135. This is another team that I had. I've got my Air Force communications people in this one. And these are plaques, that going away plaques. This is the ARCOM to, this case, General Bagley. First tour to Vietnam, that's the unit, these were the platoon. Snoopy, the Road Rat, and whatever else, and the Razorback gun team.
Right.
Now this is the type of airplane, one of them I was telling you about that got shot down, and we had 2 of these, see, one on each side.
Yeah. What is this?
These are 2.75-inch rockets. This is a Huey gunship.
Right, Huey gunship.
They made Charlie models and Mike they used B models, but they weren't strong enough, and they came out with a particular modified Huey just for carrying weapons. It's my master parachutist on 75, my aide-de-camp. This is my son.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
That's me and my son. That's when I was in primary helicopter school at Walters before I had my accident.
Goodness gracious. That's great.
Now my son's here, he's here now. He lives in College Station.
Oh, he does?
Had his family, yeah. He told me, he said, "Dad, when you die, I want you to give me that picture." I said, "Okay."
I might want to borrow this too and bring it back to you on Friday. I just want to scan it.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Fine.
I'll bring it back to you. I don't want.
My son is really successful. This is my NCOs had that made and given to me.
Yeah.
And these are different mugs for this. This one went to the fixed wing school. helicopter school, Fort Benning. My flight instructor here, his name was Thomas Johnson. On and on.
What I tell you what, Ken, occasionally I hear a story like yours that can't be told properly in one show.
Yeah.
So what we might do on Friday, if you can handle it, we might stay there and do 2 shows.
Well,
If you're okay to handle that, they're
all right.
30-minute shows, but there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, it is. That's what I said.
Yeah, and I'd hate to not. And what I'd like to do also, I want to take this picture and a couple of those others off the wall, those smaller pictures. And I'd like to take them home and scan them. And then when I bring them back, I'd like to bring them back at your convenience, like on Wednesday or Thursday sometime, and bring my camera with me and take some pictures of some of these larger things to use on the show. Can we do that? Yeah.
So these are the airplanes I had when I didn't tell you. I commanded I was the division commander of Cairns Army Airfield at the primary helicopters, Fort Rucker, Alabama. And so these are the different type of airplanes I had in that outfit. See,
Right.
and then here's my wife and I when we both had good sense. And here we are. And here we are even before that.
Before you had good sense. Yeah.
I was in the Confederacy.
All right. That's a great picture.
When we were in England, well, we were presented to the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, it's Andy. Yeah, that's right.
And I'll show you this picture. You might have noticed when you came in our court there. That's just a joke. We did a Christmas card with this one year from England.
Oh, that's greit.
Oh, it was just for
We
fun.
really enjoyed England.
Just for fun.
Yeah,
Oh, I
these
bet
are
you
all
did.
watercolors from an artist in East Anglia that does these. Now this is one of those from